World, Fi- World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. I am so excited to be in this space. It's your girl, Marie Dunn with The Bold Show. But tonight, I am on Cloud Nine. I'm super excited to be in this space again, and also the conversations that I'm going to be having and with our guests. But as we close out an important month, Black History Month, today is the last day. Can you believe that February is over and we are about to welcome March? This is a reminder that time is of the essence and we should never wait because tomorrow is not guaranteed. But I just wanted to highlight Dr. Marian Crook. She's a New Yorker. It's because of her intelligence. Yeah, she's a Black woman. Because of her intelligence, we're able to utilize technology in this medium, whether it's Skype, whether it's Zoom. Yes, while she was at AT&T, she literally created this platform. It's the Advancing Voice over Internet Protocol, and this was created by a Black woman, Dr. Marian Crook. She is a New Yorker. So I had to take this opportunity to shout her out and to say thank you, the Black excellence that we have. But tonight, even though we're closing out Black History Month, the guest that we have on tonight is from Australia. He is 16 hours ahead of us, just to show you the power of God. Yes. So I'm going to take this opportunity to welcome our guest, Rainier. He's an author. He's an extraordinary individual. And you will understand by the end of the show why I say he is an extraordinary individual. And like you all know, the Bold Show, it's about highlighting individuals who took the opportunity to utilize their struggles, their obstacles, and their challenges to become a better version of themselves. So without further ado, please help me welcome our guest tonight, Rainier from Australia.
Hello, Marie, and listeners, viewers. Thank you. That's a very warm welcome. And I hope I don't disappoint you. That was awesome. Thank you.
You can never disappoint me, and you can never disappoint anyone. Maybe you can disappoint yourself, but it's how you see yourself and how you project yourself. And after having conversations with you, there's no way you'll disappoint anyone because you're such a remarkable individual. So why don't you tell the viewers who you are?
I was born in the tropics of Sri Lanka, And then I migrated to Australia at the age of 13, where Melbourne's been home. I lost my father at a young age, at 12. So when I losing him and then coming here to Australia into a new world, and today Melbourne is a very cosmopolitan city, but back then it had its fair amount of troubles, I guess, racism and so forth. So I grew up as that through my teen and adolescent years in that new world without that father figure who I was very close to. Prior to in the early years, whenever life dealt its blows, which started pretty young for me, I lost my first friend through leukemia at 7, and then my grandfather at 9, and then my father at 12. Life hit me pretty hard there, but I was an extroverted personality and I always expended my energies outside to try and bury the pain, be it the clubs, the music, the social life, the alcohol, etc. And then finally, when I was in my sort of mid to late 20s, I said, okay, something needs to happen. And I took off on a journey. I left a good career, established career with defense science and technology. And I traveled around Australia on a motorbike for 10 years, where I just rode with the wind. There was no set destination, no set schedules. And in that time, I lived in some very remote areas, sometimes on islands where I was a sole inhabitant for days, weeks, and other times in remote areas where I didn't see many human forms. I found myself self-reflecting. And that's when I started writing. I started getting my thoughts down on paper, sort of almost for a therapeutic sense. It was in our minds, we get these thoughts that run at 1,000,000 miles an hour, but in putting them down in paper, when I was reading them, it gave me a sense of permanency. It was like I was having a dialogue with myself. And I wrote only purely for my eyes, so I could be open and honest in whatever I felt. And that started me on my writing journey.
Wow. You said so much just now, and I think what stood out for me, it's the loss at such a tender age. First, your friend at age 7, then your grandfather at age 9, and then your dad at age 12. During that youthful stage and the back-to-back loss, because technically it's like a 3-year span, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was going through your mind, and what supports did you have to help you get through those difficult times?
So the hardest loss, I guess, with the first losses, I had my father there, and we shared a very close relationship. It was almost surreal. He was quite protective of me. He would discipline me and correct me, but he would even take offense if mum corrected me. So through that, we had this bond, and I spent a lot of my time with him. So when he left, I lost that only port of guidance I had. And what it did do was I created this wall that I lived behind. I would only even let my mother in so close for no fault of her own. I couldn't have asked for a better mother, but for fear of that loss, I kept at a distance. And I loved through a wall. I guess it was like a cloak of protection, a shield of protection for me, to protect myself from that heartache again of losing somebody like my father. Over the years, though, particularly when I was traveling or as I was going through my adolescent years, when Melbourne was not what it is today, I found suddenly these thoughts that don't go there or go here. And I found me walking down those roads, and the roads I went down was something that I had to glean. And areas where had this voice in me that said, don't go, there was trouble. And it saved, and I'm probably alive today here speaking to you for those warning signs. through meditations and through my reflections, I could speak with him. I could talk to him like I'm talking to you right now. If I needed help, I'd say, like he was standing right and he said, Dad, I really need help here. I need some healing. I need some guidance. And I could feel it. So I guess it taught me then that he's only transitioned to another dimension. He isn't gone at all. He's right here. And that, another reason I kept my mother at a distance was for fear of losing her. Finally, many years later, she passed away 5 years ago. When she went, it was a thing that I was fearful of having to deal with. But it was really a non-event, because to me, by this stage, I have enough proof that she is not gone. She's just in another dimension. She's right here now, just that I can't see her or feel her physically. That helped me a lot, and even gives me a sense of peace that anytime I'm not here, I can be there for my own son.
Love through a wall.
Yes.
You said you loved through a wall. So
Yes.
you have your own son, because you've alluded to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So help me understand how that relationship with your son's mother, what was that like? And do you still have the shield in terms of like your son, that fear of losing your son?
No, with his mother initially, I did have that shield up, but she had 2 young kids who were 2.5 and 4 when we met. So I started that relationship taking on parenting, although they weren't my own. I brought them up like my own. And today I still, although their mum and I have split up 6 years back, I still share a good relationship with them, because I brought them up like myself, like my own, as well as like I brought my own son up. That helped me, I guess, to let go of that wall for the sake of 2 innocent kids who had no say in it. I wanted to make sure I gave them the love of a father, although they weren't mine, when I accepted that responsibility in falling in love with their mother. 2.5 and 4, very helpless children. So I literally forced myself to crumble those walls so that I could love without a distance. And then for the many years that we were together, I gave her fully. But I guess I'd adapted to that mindset and that's inner strength, where if I needed to separate myself, I could. Nothing was forever with me. I guess I could walk away once the lessons were done, or that no longer served a purpose. I could walk away. So although that wall wasn't there, I had that empowerment inside. If my world ended tomorrow, I'm fine with that. So it doesn't, and I don't mean that it kept me cold and callous or removed. When I give, when I love wholeheartedly. When that loss, it hurts me. But the more you love, the more it hurts. But it never stopped me from giving that wholehearted love, and it wouldn't stop me today. But what I guess it does is that it gives me that sense of removal, that if it wasn't there tomorrow, I'm used to picking up the pieces and starting again. And I don't mean that in any cold way at all. I don't, deny the love that I have within me, sharing that with somebody I fall in love with.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. And I think this is a perfect segue into, first, I'm going to read this piece that stood out to me when I read your book, Life, the Journey of the Soul, Reflections of a Soul Life's Journey. I think it was like really powerful. It's called Priorities. The body is transient, it will return to dust. The soul is eternal, it will exist perpetually. Vanity, material success, beauty, social status is nourishment for the body. Kindness, charity, humbleness, love, forgiveness is nourishment for the soul. Define your life's priority and choose wisely. This is a powerful piece. Very evocative piece, too, might I add.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind when you wrote this?
So from a young age, and I'd say amongst many cultures, as parents from parents who advise, study hard, blah blah, and all this success, whether it's in a career, corporate ladder, whether it's in material success, whether it's the houses, the six-figure bank accounts, whatever. You're driven for that material reality. And you look at even on social media, a lot of the motivating posts around that Lamborghini or so forth. But what happens when you, I guess, seeing my own father going, when he left, he had nothing but the suit he was buried in. But the kind deeds he did, same as with my mother when she went, the kind deeds she did, the compassionate acts she, in feeding the poor, in being there, those are the things that we still speak about today. And so, to me, what I was saying there was, what should be your priorities? Is it that thing that feeds the material self, the physical self, which ceases to exist, returns to the dust of this planet? But if the soul's a continuous energy, as science has taught us, that energy can't be destroyed. Deja vu teaches us that there is another existence. And if you looked at like a molecule of water can be transitioned from steam all the way to a physical cube of ice, why cannot we be in a similar form reincarnate? So then that soul's lessons, those pre-cognitive deja vu feelings where you do something and you pick up a sport and you know it comes naturally to you because you've done it before in another life perhaps. So perhaps to me, what I'm saying there is those acts of compassion, the love, the kindness, that is what you'll be taking beyond your grave for eternity. Whereas you won't be taking the Lamborghini or the bricks and mortar homes and the six-figure bank accounts.
That's a great concept, right? It's the superficial versus the compassion self, right?
Yeah.
And you're like listening to you talk, like you're absolutely so right. When someone dies, we're not going to talk about technically about the millions they have in their bank account. We're going to talk about how that person inspired and or impacted us, or even that negative feelings that they created for others around us. So I think also I am going to push a little bit and I'll ask you, with all that you've shared, all of your knowledge, all of your experience with loss, death, and dying, and you even mentioned that, you know, at 20 years old, you went on this journey. You left your job, and you were for 10 years. You said you were just like, you even lived on islands. You were the only human being on that island. Do you fear death?
Do I fear it?
Do you fear death? And what are your thoughts when it comes on to
Not at all. From a very young age, I guess the fact that losing my father at that young age, literally, that was my world. And I grew up through the adolescent years because of not being allowed even my mother close. I grew up on my own. I found my own way through life. Through that, I didn't have fear. I lived not having fear. I lived what I wanted to. So risk was nothing to me because I didn't fear if that next breath was my last. And through that, as the old saying goes, to get the best fruit, you've got to go out on a limb. I was happy to live out on that limb all the time because I did not fear the limb breaking and me falling to the ground. And through that, I lived life to the fullest. most of my friends that I grew up with, they followed I got to get my house, I got to get my wife, I got to get my couple of kids. And they lived with these unfulfilled dreams in their armchairs. And they used to say they used to envy my life. And I said, my friend, don't envy my life. You have what you sought. Don't forget, I might look like, wow, look, this guy, not a care in the world, riding with the wind. But who was there to console me, to console my tears in the night? Who was there to put their arms around me and tell me, son, or my lover, it'll be all right? I didn't have that. So I said, don't envy. You only see one side of the clown. You don't see the tears behind the face of the clown, behind that mask.
And I'm so happy that you actually said that, because oftentimes we walk around and we are so caught up with ourselves. We're so self-centered that we forget how we show up in spaces, how it's impacting the next person, that we fail to acknowledge that they are a human being and they may be hurting too. So it's about how our approach, because I'm like, I was just even thinking like how we connected on social media, right? And then to have you here in this space. And like you said to me, when you see me, I always seem to be a different person, because that's what life is all about. Just getting up and being able to be comfortable in your skin with who you are. But it takes a lot to get to that point. And you, my friend, your book, when I read this book, I cried, I laughed. You evoked so much out of me as a reader, and you left me curious. I wanted to understand and I wanted to know who you are, because your book is so deep. And one thing that came to mind, I was like, as a man, historically, we're programmed not to show emotions. You're so vulnerable. But it was so seamless, because the vulnerability showed your strength as a man, as an individual. So I think my question for you is, what or how would you suggest to anyone that's listening in or who will view this later, how do they get from that dark place?
My way is, each night when I brush my teeth, I look at my own eyes in the mirror. I'm my own judge, jury, and executioner. In my interaction with you today, I asked myself, was I fair? Was I honest? Was I true? Did I have compassion? If I didn't, I challenged myself and I put myself down for that. So tomorrow, I try not to make the same mistake. The other thing is that inner strength to stand up for your feelings. You hit the nail right on the head just now, where as a male, you're not allowed to show your emotions. Last August, I have a friend that I'd known for many, many years, grown up in the wild parts of Australia. I wrote a poem called The Wildflower Cries. Last August, he took his life, and he was a man's man. He was one of those people who were brought up where it was not right to show emotions. He was a prison guard and grew up in a farming community between here and South Australia. And I went to that funeral. The church was packed, and the kids, because I'd known him longest, asked me to do a reading, and I read this poem. So the congregation were prison guards from a very heavy scale sort of penitentiary. They were farmers who do life tough, right? And in this crowd, I read this poem, in this world of men's men. By the end of it, there was not a dry eye in that church, in that chapel. And through the evening, I had all his own kids' friends, wild, woolly young fellows in their 20s, to his friends, the prison guards. They all put me on such a high pedestal. They opened their doors. They said, Rainier, we would love for you to come back and tell us more stories about Mad Dog, which was what my friend was known as. And they opened their houses to me. And here I cried in amongst these men and men as I was reading this poem. I had 30 years of a bond with this friend that I was 5 days away from meeting him to play golf when he took his life. So don't be scared of living your truth, long as it is your truth and not a truth that you've made up because it sits right with the world. If it's something you firmly believe within you, never be scared to hit anybody with that truth. Whereas if I was being pretentious and trying to broadcast that, then that is something that you will come unstuck in and gives people a right to challenge. But human beings, besides what goes in here, most of us we know what's right and wrong here. And when somebody is speaking the truth, you know inside, and nobody will challenge that. And through that, even in my professional career, I've never been hesitant to challenge upwards or downwards or sideways. I speak my truth. And again, because I have no fear of if this next breath is my last, I can speak that. If somebody decides to make this my last breath because I spoke my truth, so be it. He's probably done me a favor and set me free from, temporarily at least, set me free from the pain that I've gone through life.
I'm a woman of many words, but sitting here talking to you, I just want to sit in silence. Silence is also a way of speaking. Sometimes folks don't understand that. But I think in this context, and just hear you raising that point about your friend committing suicide, it just speaks volume of how much he suffered in silence.
About 8 years ago, he lost his wife through breast cancer, and he was stuck with one grown kid and 3 young kids, 11, 10, and 9. Changed his whole life, and he worked as a prison guard, and he had a farm going as well. He had to relocate, buy another place in town, and he brought those kids up. And then 2 years ago, his second son decided to take his life with a simple note, I'm going to join mum. That's a couple of big blows to take. And he's a tough guy. This guy was he was tough as old boot nails. He was, if I was going into a battle, there's nobody I'd rather had my back with this guy. And we run amok between the Northern Territory's wild shores to the southern shores to the western mining towns. He and I run amok in our youth. We had some wild chapters, but even the strongest person, we all bleed. We all have a heart. We all have that. You can't bury that. In the still of night, in the quietness of your own mind, you can't get away from what we're all born with. We're born with love. Everything in this world that happens, it happens for love, right? If I went and stole something right now, why am I stealing it for? Because I love something, because I love it. Yes, it's misdirected love, but I'm doing it. When you hear these murder-suicides, what's the biggest driver of that? Love, right? For love, because you've lost that something you love, be it a wife, be it children, whatever. Nothing in this world that doesn't happen that's not rooted to love. And we all have that. We just need to shut down the delusion we live here and feel what's in there. I'm no different to you or to the next person. I'm not better or worse than you. I was born of a mother and a father like you were. My heart bleeds just as much as yours. When I look at you, I don't see a female. I see a beautiful soul of a human. I don't differentiate between color, creed, or race or sex. It bemuses me that in this day and age, there's still so much racism. It bemuses me today that there's still abuse to women. It blows my mind away. There's this still concept of arranged marriages, where, as a parent, we think we know what's best for our child. Generally, the arrangement of the marriage is based on cultural background, the heritage, the status, the caste systems, etc., etc. In this day and age, really, that used to happen in 16th century Japan, for Christ's sake. And here we are still in a lot of our parts of the globe that still happens. The river of life is flowing. It does not stand still for no man. We've got to move with it, right? We've got to move forward with our thinking, with our times, and in unity, through love and compassion. It's so much easier. It's so much easier for me to hold your hand and walk down the road, where I help you to shoulder your burdens, and you help me to shoulder my burdens. When I fall, you reach out your hand and pick me up. When you are slowing down, I just give you that gentle nudge to go on with your life. Life is so much easier, but instead, it's a competition and a jealousy. Through jealousy, all that comes from fear, because I'm fearful that you're going to succeed more than me. I should be happy that you're succeeding more than me. Whereas if I didn't look at you as a different person, but as a sister, as a human, I would be happy for your success. I would do everything to support you. And if I fall down, I'm sure you would reach out, give me that drink of water, and pick me up so that I can keep going. Life is so much easier. But when are we going to get to that stage? We're still facing things that were issues back in the 16th century. We're still dealing with things that were common 100 years ago. And yet as humans, as communities, we've advanced so much. Look at technology and science. We're flying to the moon. We're understanding the universe we live in, but us as human beings, imaged as a small version of that universe, they're struggling to understand. Sure, there's psychology and there's doctors and blah, 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 all this, that deal with the mental conditioning and how to coping mechanisms. I'd rather look at the root cause. Why do I need to cope? Why do we have this problem? If there's a weed in my garden, putting sand on it is only a temporary measure. That weed soon comes out. Let's rip it out at the root.
Exactly.
Instead of giving me a coping mechanism, let's take the problem away. So in my poetry, what I try to narrate, and I don't for a moment in my poetry think or try to give anybody a prescribed solution, because I can't see life through your eyes. All I'm doing is expressing my lines of thinking, my reflective thoughts to that same event. In reading that, all I expect is that it triggers your own thoughts, your own reflective patterns when you go through the same thing. Say you and I lose a love. You don't see life through my eyes, I don't see it through your eyes. The impact of me losing my love might be quite different of you losing your love. Your level of attachment might be different to mine. The quality of your bond might have been very different to mine. So how can I say, oh, I've just been through that, Maria, I know what you're going through? No, I don't. I've got no idea what you're going through, as you don't what I'm going through. All I try to do is narrate my lines of thinking, my pain, my understanding, my lessons I learned from my breakup, in the hope that in reading that, it can trigger off your own thoughts in dealing with your grief, with your loss.
Thank you
If
for
that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense. And thank you so much for sharing that, because like you've touched on so many sensitive and much needed conversation, whether it's the racism, like I think just sitting here and listening to you, and it breaks my heart when I think about it. How is it I can look at another human being and allow the color of their skin, their cultural background, their ethnicity to decide how I'm going to treat that individual? Where did I get that power? Why am I so audacious? But I'm sitting here and I'm also thinking how we're so mentally enslaved. And this is why we are so stuck with tradition, those practices, even if it's hinder us, even if it's causing pain. We're so married to it. We're so attached to it. And I think us here having this deep conversation, it's about two individuals who have taken the time to discover who they are. When you talk about understanding the root causes of the issues that we have, and I'm not even going to go there when we talk about this whole mental health institution and the pharmaceutical institution, right? It's all designed that way because it's it's a part of the system that's oppressive, and it's designed to keep us down, right? But you, the individual, have to get to that point in your life to recognize that this is all a part of the plan. Everything that we are looking for, I believe, it's in here. You don't need to look externally, because externally, oftentimes, it misguides you. And I could share a statement similar. I suffered from chronic migraines for years. And in 2017, I was physically assaulted, and that just made my situation worse. And I think it was like maybe 4 years ago, I decided I was sick and tired of taking these injections that I had to give myself whenever I had these really bad migraines.
Wow.
And I recognized, so there are certain food triggers. And I said to myself, if I can eradicate certain things from my diet, and if I can control my sleep pattern, if I can manage my stress, I guarantee you it will change my life. And I'm going to knock here on my desk. That's exactly what I did. I made a conscious decision to give up what no longer suit me nutritionally, mentally, psychologically, and emotionally. And here I am. I have not used my Imitrex injection in over 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. I rarely get headaches. Like I do have, low-grade headaches, and oftentimes I can tell what's causing that. But the point I'm trying to make here, and going back to what you said, which was really profound, it's that we got to get to the root cause of what the issues are. When we talk about adverse child experiences, the ACEs, that's understanding where this trauma is coming from. Oftentimes we look at an individual and we're like, why is this person behaving this way? Let's ask, what happened? Because something happened. And if we understand that, it can make a difference with our interaction and how I experience you.
Yep. It's an absolute credit to you that you took that time to understand and research that root cause and try to deal with it yourself. As you said, what no longer works for you. Now, that's a powerful statement there, right? That goes into our emotional well-being, our physical well-being, our professional well-being.
Yes.
In every aspect of our life, even a sport. What no longer works for you, why are you hanging on to it? You can only fit so much in a bag. If your bag is full, how do you get new things into that bag? And what was good for you in youth, in adolescence, now as an adult, it's probably not valid, no longer important. There'll be other things that can enrich you as a person within as an adult. So let go of what doesn't work for you and bring what works so that there's room to bring the new into your life.
Absolutely. I have this famous say that I loved. Let go of things and people that no longer serves you.
Mm.
Oftentimes we like to hold on to things. I believe everyone that we encounter, it was meant to be.
Mm.
I don't believe in chances. Every,
Very
inter-
wise.
every interaction, there is something that we could take away from this, but we have to be open.
Yeah. Very, very true. When I look back in hindsight at my whole life, even my worst enemy gave me some good opportunities to grow. I had a very prominent person within the community try to get his daughter declared, and I'm talking many years ago, get his own daughter declared mentally unstable so she couldn't leave home because of my color, darker complexion of my skin. He gave me probably the biggest opportunity to learn to turn the other cheek. In my youth, growing up here in racism, I was a very full of revenge and a vengeful person. If I'd kept going, I more than likely would have been dead by now or ended up in a prison. Him being everything that I stood against and everything negative that you could ask from this world that we live in, he probably gave me the biggest opportunity to overcome my biggest weakness, and that was to learn to turn the other cheek. Everything comes for a reason, you're right. Even we connected a couple of years back on Instagram, and we used to like each other's posts and make a comment. And then in the last 3-4 months, we connected at another level, and here we are today, sharing very intimate parts of ourselves in a public forum. And if it can help people, the listeners, the viewers out there, I'm happy to bare my soul. I no longer, my writing for many years, I wrote just for myself. The handful of people who read my works found it triggered off their own thoughts and helped them, and they said I should make it socially more available for people to access. But because it was exposing that vulnerable side for really 10 for 15 years, I kept procrastinating. Yeah, I'll do it. I had the cover of the first book hanging on my wall for 20 plus years. Finally, yeah, it's hanging as a portrait, that image of the in the book you got there.
Yes.
That's been hanging on my wall for over 20 years. Yeah, that one, the two souls, the two fires form one. That's been hanging on my wall. That's tattooed on my chest for many years. Finally, I decided in July 21 or July 20, I started about 3-4 years ago. I started the Instagram page 3 plus years ago, and I started sharing some of my work, and then I decided to publish this book. Finally found the strength, because it was showing the Rainier that lived behind that wall. The people only saw what I showed them. They never saw that vulnerable side of me. I lived behind that cloak of protection. And then today with my second book, I bare my soul. And right now, on this show, and recently I was interviewed on Kate Delaney's That America Tonight, I speak, what comes out of my mouth is what's in my head and what's in my heart. I don't give you words that I want you to hear. I don't give anybody words they want to hear, good or bad. I just speak my truth. It sometimes offends people, sometimes draws tears, but it's probably truths that they needed to hear. Sometimes it's hard to look in a mirror, and sometimes I am that mirror. Quite often that mirror shows the person, reflects back to the person, somebody who can trust and reach out and believe in themselves. Other times that mirror reflects somebody who's really got to change their priorities and change what drives them.
That is powerful, and that is so true. And you mentioned earlier that we're here bearing our naked soul, being so vulnerable, being so vulnerable. And when I made that conscious decision to share, share, and be this bold woman, selfishly, I was doing it for myself because it's a part of my healing. And then the feedback I got from individuals, women, made me realize there is so much power in our stories. There is so much pain. There's so much that folks are afraid to share because of the fear of how they will be judged, rejected, isolated. But that's all in your head. So when we can move past that, because healing starts when we acknowledge something that's not going right with us, and we have to change this. We have to do something different to have a different outcome. I believe it was Albert Einstein who said, if you're doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, that is called insanity.
Yes. Yes.
So we have to change our mind and we change our life. But Rainier, I need to have a whole nother show with you.
It'd be my pleasure to.
This whole conversation, and I love how calm we are. I feel like I'm almost meditating in this safe sanctuary. That's the feeling I'm getting. So I shared what I felt when I read your book. What other emotions are you hoping to evoke from your readers, for folks who read your books?
The biggest thing I hope to stimulate in the reader is to find your authenticity, find your true priorities. If your friends think you shouldn't be so vulnerable in loving your partner, if that is not your truth, then show it. If so, a lot of the people that I work with, if they heard this interview, they wouldn't believe it's the same Rainier that they know. Because in my professional life, I had to behave. The requirements of my behaviors are so much very different to who I can be within an intimate friendship, within the relationship. I think find that authenticity, find the love within you, and realize that everything that you do in life, the underlying foundation, the underlying motivation is love. Even the job that I do, I either love my job or I'm doing it because it funds the lifestyle that I love. Everything comes down to a love. So acknowledge that love within yourself. And remember, you can't see life through the other person's eyes. So that should automatically turn away any, shut down any of your judgments. And if there's no judgment, that gives birth to compassion. And I'd also like to stimulate the passion in people. When you wake up each day and whatever you do it with passion. Don't do it because it's by rote. Okay, I'm going to work because I have to. I'm going to eat because I have to. Eat that food with zest. That is what gives your body life. So whether it's something you like or it's not one of your exotic restaurants, whether it's a slice of bread and a piece of cheese, if that's all you can afford, eat that with passion and with zest. That nourishes your body. Same as when you love with passion and with zest. Because that nourishes your soul. If you're lending a hand to a friend or somebody in a charity or something like that, do it with passion and zest, not because it looks good that I'm donating to charity or because it eases my guilt. Give with passion. Give because you want to. because you want to take that starving kid off that street. Hold the hand of that friend who's in tears because you want to help him or her as they go through the fires in their own journey. All that stems right back to authenticity.
Yeah.
Your authenticity, which is unique to you, because you and I can look at the same event in life, but through our eyes we see something different.
So be your authentic self. Be bold.
That's it.
And give yourself permission to be your authentic self, because that's also very profound. So you have 2 books out. Talk to me about the connection of both your work, your body of work.
So both books narrate my journey through life. So I guess I'm very much connected to them because it is my truth. It is my journey that I write about. Every event, every poem, it's either what my thoughts have been or my views as I reflected back on any significant events in my life. And both of them, the first book takes me to a certain point and the second book takes it further. So every word that I've written there is something that I have thought about, experienced, felt. Even I break the books into 3 sections called the journeys, which is based on events in my life, inspired poems, which often those are inspired. Yes, it might not have happened as I've narrated it there, but it's based on something very similar that has happened, and it captures my very thoughts on that event, but it's not the exact event. The verses are generally, let's say, affirmations, but more beliefs or sentiments like the one you read out that I live my life by.
Got it.
They're not words that I wanted a reader to read or fill the pages. That is what I live my life by. It is my truth. So I'm very, very connected to pretty much every word in both books, and the third book if it happens.
A third book is going to happen. Let's put it out into the universe. We need a third book. Okay? So it's going to happen.
Funnily, when I held the author review copy of my second book in my hand, the title to the third one came to my head, and then I knew the third one will happen. I don't plan. I didn't plan the titles of any of these. They just come to my head. So yeah.
Again, it goes back to it's your truth, right? And before we started this interview, I remember saying to you that we're going to go where the Spirit leads us, and here we are. So we have a few more minutes. Do you have a piece that you'd like to share with the viewers that you would like to read? No pressure.
I guess since my journey started, the eventful journey started through losing my father, and last December was a significant decade since he passed away, so which I wrote for this. And when I posted this on social media, I had many people reach out to me who actually one lady in New York who had 5 years ago lost a partner and had 2 sons of similar age to what I was then. That gave her so much strength to know that there's hope for her own boys, and that touched me. And here's somebody that I've never met, never seen, and if I can help people like that through my expression. So this piece was called An Ode to a Father that I wrote to commemorate his passing on the 21st of December, which is a significant decade. I'll read that piece. Perhaps that's something that most viewers can relate to. An ode to a father. Many decades now long past since you left the earthly shores where I still dwell. It left a great void within me. I was just a mere boy, a boy who now walks tall in grown-up shoes. Still, all that you are flows through my veins. I learned to walk in life, slowly finding my way. I always feel your presence near, from far above. You stand beside me during troubled waters. Rejoice with me at each success, be it big or small. Whatever may come to be, I feel you right next to me. Your strong convictions inherent in me. I swim against the tides. No mountain is too tall. Your stance for justice is in my blood. I fight against all wrong. When I falter in doubt, with signposts you light my way. When I yearn to give up, my passions you deftly awake. In the still of night, as my body lies in slumber, we touch through astral stairways in divine wonder. The river of life flows as you live through my eyes. I bore this world a son. Through him, our legacy will live. Soon we will meet again. Time lives only on my side.
That was beautifully written.
Thank you. Thank you. It's yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so vulnerable. I think I'm curious. What would the matured and older Rainier say to the younger Rainier?
This Rainier would say to the young fella, when life events cause inner pain, do not try to hide it by burying it deep within. Don't live behind that wall and making frail attempts to distract the mind with external stimulants such as overactive social life, filling it with unnecessary materialism, alcoholism, etc. Instead, summon the strength to turn within in reflection to understand the value or the lesson from what has transpired. Deal with the inner turmoil, learn from it, walk through the fire to heal and move on with life's journey, filled with love and passion, and not carry unnecessary baggage. Another key aspect the young Rainier would have benefited from would be to let go of yesterday. Certainly plan a bit for tomorrow, but truly live in the present without being overly concerned with the future, something we don't even have control of, or stuck in the past. Be who you are today and live it with zest and passion.
Love it, love it, love it. Finish this statement for me. Rainier is
a simple soul who acknowledges and nurtures the love and compassion held deep within his heart as he walks through life. His soul's experience to expose truths held within through physical experience.
love it, love it. Can you tell the viewers where they could connect with you, find your work, or follow you?
The easiest way to access all my social links is on my Instagram bio, a link tree which gives access to my website where I publish my work and access to my books. It gives you access to my social media. It's https://linktr.poetrybyrainier.com. That's the link tree. It's on my Instagram bio, Rainier700. If you look that up on Instagram, on the bio, you'll find that link tree address. You can access pretty much both books. You can access the Balboa Press site. You can access Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can access my own website. Feel free to subscribe there. Happy to chat to anybody. If that website, actually social media, is you got your comments and so forth. That's great. But I created that website where I've fallen a bit behind, but I keep my poems there quite up to date, where if you wanted to quiz me directly, if you subscribe to it and you ask me, hey, listen, Rainier, what drove this? What stimulated this? Anything about the poem, I'm happy to respond via that chat there and respond to you, give you a bit more insight of myself. So that's probably a good side. But Instagram's popular.
So, Rainier, I want to say thank you so much for this vulnerable and important conversation. It's well needed, and more so as a male, the willingness to be so naked. And when I talk about nakedness, it's not the physical nakedness, it's the psychological nakedness. So thank you so much. And again, 16 hours ahead, you're all the way in Australia. And you're in New York with me tonight. I want to say,
Marie, thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you very much for connecting with me. And we, as I said, aside from the show, we have that and it gladdens my heart to see somebody, a young soul like you, who's just so passionate, and you're so motivated, and you got so much energy to life. This is what I write about, and to see somebody living it inspires my heart and gives me confidence on that there's other people out there living what I'm preaching, living what I lived. I just need more. We just need more people to do it.
So we're going to spread. We're going to spread this love. We're going to spread this compassion, spread authenticity, and just living in our truth.
Yeah.
So I want to say good night to everyone. Thanks to all the viewers, and thank you also, and to Soul City, of course, for this opportunity as well. But tonight, I want to dedicate the show to Dr. Marian Crook. If it wasn't for her, with her invention, we wouldn't be able to do this. Have an amazing rest of the night and morning, day, whatever it is for you, and just continue to be awesome and to be your authentic self. Good night. Good night.
Thank you all. Good night.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.